Broadcasting live. It's America's longest running talk show on computers. It's Computer America, bringing you the biggest names in technology with guest interviews, new products, and your emails. Listen live at computeramerica.com on any device around the world. Email the show at live@computeramerica.com or find us on social media. Be sure to check out our website for contests, giveaways, show notes, live video stream, podcasts, and more. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello and welcome into the Computer America Show. We are the nation's longest running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers and technology. Thank you for joining us, and I hope all of you had a very nice, relaxing rest of weekend. Maybe went to a few Halloween parties since, hey, it lands on a Tuesday. It's going to be a lot of fun. But, I hope you all are doing well. I'm your host, Ben Crossman, and why don't we go ahead and, just get some morning announcements out of the way, including computeramerica.com. That's where you'll find anything and everything for today's show, be it show notes, be it links to any articles that we do, any videos that we show, just anything that we do here on the program can be found at Computer America. And also, while you're there, be sure to check out the social media contest sponsored by Logitech. That's right, every single Friday we give away a great prize to a lucky listener. And also be sure to check out the video portion where you can watch Computer America, not just listen. Just another way to experience what it is that we do here. And, for shows such as today, it's going to come in handy because, we have a full hour of computer and technology news. Now, we had a guest, of course, but unfortunately, scheduling conflicts, they do happen, and we'll be sure to have, back on the show. They make a lot of audio equipment, and they have a new app that essentially lets you, mix and record soundtracks on the go, and it's a really cool app. You should definitely check it out, but again, we're going to have them back on the program as soon as we can manage it. So, with that being said, in the meantime, why don't we go ahead and get started with computer and technology news? Because you know what? We have lots of stories and plenty to talk about. So here we go, computer technology news brought to you by Fire Dragon Security. All right. So I think our first one that we're going to do here, this is a bit of an unfortunate story because I think for anyone out there, they know the importance of, HP, Hewlett-Packard, and they know that, they've done a lot for the computer industry. And, while it's not really going to hurt their bottom line, it's not really going to hurt anything having to do with their business side, but just from a history side, the California wildfires have claimed yet another piece. And this coming to us from Engadget, Mr. John Fingus, and HP lost key historical archives in California's wildfires. Right. And they're saying that there's no question that the California's recent wildfires are ultimately a human tragedy, destroying homes and upturning lives. And it sure has. These wildfires this season have been some of the worst in, especially in recent history, and it's, it's certainly doing a lot of damage, and HP is yet another victim of that. Saying that, however, they've also represented a loss for technology history, saying that the Press Democrat has learned that the fire in Santa Rosa's Fountain Grove region destroyed key archives of HP's namesake founders, William Hewlett and David Packard, earlier in October. There you have it. So they said that while a large chunk of, they said that the blaze destroyed correspondence, writing, and other artifacts held at the headquarters of the Keysight Technology, a company with HP origins that took ownership of the archives back in 2014. And while a large chunk of the archives are stored elsewhere, they said that this wiped out a significant amount of irreplaceable personal material. And, we're going to get into, kind of what this means for you. But, just if you're a fan of, kind of historical technology, artifacts, well, this is a huge blow for HP. And there are also concerns that this could have been avoided. And they said that Keysight says it took appropriate and responsible steps to protect HP's archives, putting material in toughened boxes and a sprinkler system. Okay. However, they said that it also stored the archives in modular buildings rather than the key site's permanent offices because, hey, storage, if you have a permanent office, storage space can be kind of, hard to come by. And obviously they felt that the modular buildings were, good enough. Obviously, in hindsight, absolutely wrong, but you can see their logic there. And they said that when HP and Agilent had ownership, they stored the archives in permanent, carefully controlled vaults with foam fire retardant and other protections. And saying that there's a chance that the archives could still be saved if they were kept in a similar location after 2014. Again, this is hindsight, though. Obviously, if they were destroyed in fires, and you come back and say that, hey, this could have been avoided if you took more precaution, yeah, obviously. But saying that whether or not the damage could have been prevented, there's no question that this is a significant blow to anyone interested in early tech culture. And they said that Hewlett and Packard are widely considered the founding fathers of Silicon Valley, and losing some of their writing amounts to losing a piece of tech world's roots. So there you have it. And what this kind of means for you, I mean, obviously this is, something very personal to HP, and, while this isn't going to affect anything that really has to do with the business nowadays, it would have been a very, very nice piece of technology to, a piece of tech history to hang on to. Backup. I mean, we say it all the time here on the show. It's unclear why, or it's uncertain why, if these are irreplaceable. If you have something, folks, if you're listening to this, if you have something that's irreplaceable, that if you lost it due to flood, fire, tornado, just any kind of natural disaster, and you couldn't recreate it, or you couldn't, find a way to get that back, then there's no reason not to have a digital copy of it. There's no reason not to have a backup of it. There's no reason not to, take some precautions. And, these fires, admittedly, they are unforeseeable. They are, the worst that they've been in a century. But that doesn't mean that it can't happen. So, again, hindsight's 2020, but definitely, sorry to hear that. So, there you go. HP learning the lesson the hard way. And hopefully all of you take it to heart. So, okay. So on some downer news, why don't we go ahead and move on to something a little happier? All right. How about we talk about... All right, so we've had a number of cryptocurrency companies here on the program. Either they are launching their own form of cryptocurrency, or they are... to some effect, mining Bitcoin or trading Bitcoin, or, just using Bitcoin as a service, things like that. Cryptocurrency in general is booming. And we have another story about that here in just a moment. But there's no doubt that the rise of cryptocurrency certainly seems to be taking hold. Well, now, get this, one country certainly doesn't like the idea, saying that starting in 2018, using cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin in Vietnam will be illegal and subject to a $9,000 fine. That's right, they'll fine you $9,000 just for probably using Bitcoin, maybe even owning it. So they said that the State Bank of Vietnam has amended its monetary regulations to make Bitcoin and similar virtual currencies illegal. I think China's trying to crack down on Bitcoin. I don't think they've taken it to the point where Bitcoin is strictly illegal, but this certainly is an escalation in the idea of cryptocurrencies. The main reason that it's catching fire here is that it answers to no one. It doesn't answer to any central government. It doesn't answer to any central agency. There's no one that really controls it. And Bitcoin is kind of a very hands-off feature. And I can see why some countries would be very opposed to that. And now they said in an announcement today that it is now illegal to issue, supply, or otherwise use Bitcoin because it has been designated as an illegal means of payment. Again, this is with the State Bank of Vietnam. So obviously Vietnam. And they said that the State Bank of Vietnam notice clarified that the only official accepted means of payment in Vietnam are checks, payment orders, checks, payment orders, collection orders, bank cards, as well as other payment instruments approved by the state bank. So obviously, the state bank does not accept Bitcoin, does not deal in Bitcoin. Therefore, they deemed it illegal. And the move against cryptocurrencies follows similar bans on centralized virtual currencies, often used for gaming or gambling as well. And yeah, that's one place where these cryptocurrencies, virtual currencies, seem to be used is certainly, gaming and gambling because hey, it's widely accepted and it's independent of any particular government. So, I guess unless they make it strictly illegal, they really don't have any control over how this is really used. I guess, kind of within their country at least. So while no other altcoins like Zcash, Ethereum, Litecoin, Ripple, blah, 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 so they use altcoins, it's essentially other cryptocurrencies being produced by other companies or groups or, kind of organizations. There are a number of them. And yeah, so they said that while the others were not named, it's pretty clear that Vietnam also considers these other cryptocurrencies to be illegal means of payment as well, and that the penalty for using illegal means of payment, which is about 150 to 200 million, forgive me for not exactly knowing the denomination of Vietnamese currency, but anyways, it breaks down to about $9,000 US dollars. So pretty hefty fine. I think a lot of people would be certainly devastated by that. And yeah, it's and just the fact that they said that the only legal means of payment are the ones issued by and dealt with the bank, the state bank. So again, things like payment orders, checks, collection orders, bank cards, things like that. Those are legal, and because cryptocurrencies in general were not named, so just by omission, yeah, they're probably right. Where even other, it doesn't just have to be Bitcoin, other cryptocurrencies are probably in the same vein as well. So, with that being said, they said that the Vietnamese site that published the news has updated the article, saying that and they said that the state-owned and operated media operation. So the rule has already been decreed and there's no comment period here. So there's no kind of room for public backlash or discussion. It just kind of happened. And they said that it isn't clear yet if the declaration that the virtual currencies are illegal means of payment affected the use of Bitcoin and similar currencies as a form of investment. Does the prohibition of issuing the supplying Bitcoin also mean the mining is illegal in Vietnam? Because that's right, you're not issuing, you're not trading. I mean, you can simply just mine Bitcoin. You can supply the blockchain with processing power and you can acquire Bitcoin, but then I guess they kind of make it illegal to do anything other than just own Bitcoin. If you do any kind of transactions with it, suddenly you're in the wrong. So they said that don't be surprised if other countries also decree that Bitcoin isn't a legal means of payment as the fiat status quo continues to be disrupted. And that means that the virtual currencies have successfully ruffled some feathers and that the governments, have moved on from ignoring, well, the article says ignoring us, and the next step is to simply win. Yep. And again, this coming to us from Block Explorer, and it's a pretty decent article, of course, outlining the fact that traditional governments who, let's face it, being able to control your currency has a lot of advantages. And if you go to something like a Bitcoin or cryptocurrency that you don't have strict control of, then you lose a decent amount of your power. I'm not saying that that's a bad thing or a good thing. It's just I can see why countries would be very up in arms to prevent something like that. So there you have it. Check it out. And we, of course, have a link to this in the show notes because it's a pretty interesting development. So with that one, and I said that cryptocurrency in general is shaking up a lot of companies and countries and markets. Check this one out. This one's actually very, very funny. And I found this entertaining because, here on the show, we try to not use buzzwords. I'm beginning to think that is the wrong thing to do. We are computer blockchain America, and we use artificial intelligence, VR, AR, technology to bring news directly to your computer. Anyways, I'm throwing all these out because check out this story. This by Lisa Pham for Bloomberg, and a company that added the word blockchain to its name and saw its shares surge almost 400%. That's right. 400% just for adding blockchain. That's the technology behind cryptocurrencies. It's the idea of a giant ledger that essentially anyone could check and verify. And yeah, just by simply changing your name to including that keyword, buzzword, buzz phrase, netted them a decent amount of money. So here we go. And again, this coming to us from Bloomberg, saying that a British company that has been investing in internet and information businesses is having the best day on record. And, to be fair, a large number like 400%, when you're trading in the penny stock territory, well, pence stock, they seem to be hovering around, 9 to 15 pence per share. And bam, they went up 400% to about 60 about 60 pence a share. And they said that Online PLC, that's their original name, Online PLC, jumped as much as 400% on Friday after announcing plans to change its name to Online Blockchain PLC. And by the way, as of time of this recording, and of course, at the time of this show, it's still trading at about 40 pence. So it dropped, certainly, but it's still trading, 3 times what it was before. Certainly is a very interesting kind of change. So, yep, and they said that, so Online Blockchain PLC, following an initial climb of about 19% on Thursday when it first announced the news. And by the way, it's the biggest one-day gain for the small cap company since its December 1996 listing. So this thing has been going steady for a little while, 20 years, and just this one little name change did that for you. So the trading volume that reached about 2.9 million shares by early afternoon in London is equal to about 16 times the entire year's trading before the last 2 days. 16 times. So it would take them 16 years to get what they just got in 2 days thanks to a buzzword change. And they said that blockchain technology and cryptocurrencies are a new and exciting area that we have been working on for some time. And they said that we feel the time is right to rename the company to reflect these developments, where we believe the future growth will be in our sector. So it's not just a name change. Obviously, it shows that they are looking to further invest and entrench themselves in the idea of, the blockchain, cryptocurrencies in general. But the shares paired gains after the company published the follow-up release on Friday, cautioning investors that the development of its blockchain product are still at an early stage. Still, with about a 238% rise as of, about the end of trading on Friday, they said that leaves the company market value at about $5.8 million. And this isn't the first time we've seen this. There was another company, they started their own cryptocurrency. All right, so think Bitcoin, but, kind of their own knockoff. And I think they raised, it was something like $60 million or something like that. Like their initial coin offerings. Just the fact that you can buy these coins for so cheap, and then you expect them to grow kind of like Bitcoin, they've gained like, 5,000% or something like that in the past, 5-6 years. Everyone is hoping to be the next Bitcoin. And if you can get in at the penny stage, if you can get in when coins are, a quarter a piece, and then you can sell them for when they're $1,000 a piece, $2,000 a piece, hell, even $100 a piece. You will be making a lot of money, and everyone's hoping to be that. Whether or not it's justified, hey, we're gonna have to see. That's where the organization behind the cryptocurrency is really gonna have to play their cards right. So, and by the way, the chart of this, the chart of this trading is just hilarious. I mean, it really does show. It's the entire 2017 trading, and right there, just the past 2 days, it just leaped. It's crazy. So they said this isn't the first time that investors have gotten excited about a name, saying that shares in Colorado-based Bioptics Inc. nearly doubled in value in the days leading up to its name change to Riot Blockchain Inc. earlier this month. And in what seems to be a case of mistaken identity, a New York-based startup called Snap Interactive Inc. jumped more than 150% in the days after Snap Inc. filed for a $3 billion initial public offering in February. So, oh my God. If you invested in Snap Interactive Inc., thinking it was Snap Inc., Snap obviously being Snapchat, they said that the little-known Snap Interactive makes mobile dating apps, while Snap Inc. is the parent company of the popular Snapchat photo sharing app. So, buzzwords, as much as we hate them, as much as we feel that they are fluff, they really don't indicate what you're doing with the technology, only that you are associating yourself with the technology. It seems to, at least in some cases, for some investors, really start to get, excited about new technology and the idea of profits as sectors start to boom. So, with that being said, Computer Blockchain America, well, we might just keep Computer America. But in the meantime, why don't we go ahead and move on to the next one? That's just super, super silly, it seemed like. By the way, again, that one was from Bloomberg. So, how about this? Our next story. Next. All right. All right, so this one has high claims. I'm not quite sure if they can live up to them, but medicine and technology has such a great history together that I can't help but just get excited just for the idea of this. So this article is goes on for a bit. We're going to try to breeze right through it, but they're making some pretty big claims. Here we go. And this by the way, Andrew Terratola of Engadget, saying that Stanford's Accelerator on a chip could revolutionize medical care. Accelerator on a chip. Admittedly, technology and medicine, we have seen incredible advances in the past couple of years, but that's a bold claim. So, saying that when the SLAC National Accelerator Laboratory at Stanford first opened its doors in 1966, it had already earned the distinction of housing the world's longest linear accelerator. And it was a 3.2 kilometer monstrosity buried about 25 feet under the gently rolling hills of Northern California. So 3.2 kilometers, what is that, like 1 mile? Or no, like 1.2, something like that miles. All right, so it's a long linear accelerator. And today, the lab, along with an international consortium of research organizers, is working to create a new kind of accelerator. One small enough to fit in a shoebox, but offering a huge scientific potential. And by the way, if you're watching the video portion, we have a picture of what the casting die of these chips would look like. I think those things are always so cool looking. You'll never afford, that's a piece of technology history I really want to get my hands on. Just like server blades for some of my favorite video games, or, these casting dies for computer chips, because, they take millions of dollars to definitely research, and each one, just to produce the casting die that will be used to essentially press all these other, chips that we use every single day. Each one costs multi-millions of dollars to even produce. So to get your hands on one, even if it's an old one, even if it's a casting die that you'll never ever use again because it's just old technology. You'll probably never get your hands on one anyways. I still think it's really cool. But anyways, so yeah, small accelerator, saying that the full-size accelerator, dubbed the LINAC, Linac, relies on bystrons, which is a specialized vacuum tubes that act as radio frequency amplifiers to generate high-energy electron beams used in the facility's experiments. And they said that they also generate a whole bunch of radiation, which is why the beam is buried in a concrete bunker 2 stories below ground level. Radiation is bad in a lot of cases. Fun fact. So, and so they said that the problem with this setup is cost and availability, that there are only a handful on the planet because they're so insanely expensive to build, maintain, and operate. And as such, the demand for the machines dramatically overshadows the amount of time that the facility can operate. Because it makes sense that, if you have a dozen of these facilities and, you have a project, but there's thousands of research groups and they all have projects, then, even if you ran this thing 24 hours, they said that today the LINAC operates on average 24 hours a day, 5 days a week, with the off days dedicated to maintenance. And they said that the services are in such high demand that only 1 in 6 experiments are accepted, and those that do get the nod, those that do get the nod are then expected to adhere to a brutally strict schedule. Obviously, no dilly-dallying. And now, here's where the article comes in, saying that what if instead of relying on just a few mammoth linear accelerators around the planet, the scientific community could shrink these devices to the size of a football field? Yeah, again, this thing is 3.2 kilometers long. That's huge. And instead shrinking it to the size of a football field makes a lot of sense. And that would enable them to install, that would enable them to be installed in the basements of most universities and research hospitals, and exponentially increasing their availability. Absolutely. And in 2015, thanks to a $13.5 million grant, Stanford and SLAC began working on shrinking a particle accelerator from a scale of miles to meters. Well, that's already hard to do because that's imperial to metric, but they call it the Accelerator on a Chip project. So obviously a play on the term system on a chip, which is where you take a system on a chip is being where you take the entirety of a computer operating system and the motherboard, processor, graphics card, sound card, blah, 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 essentially everything, and cram it onto a single motherboard so that it can be used in devices. Great for miniature devices that don't need a lot of power. But yeah, again, you can kind of see where they're going with this with Accelerator on a chip. So they said that can we do for particle accelerators what the microchip industry did for computers? And that the SLAC physicist, they said an investigator with a 5-year project said in a 2013 statement that when the program launched, making them much smaller and cheaper would democratize accelerators, potentially making them available to millions of people. We can't even imagine the creative implications that we'll be able to find for this technology. And, we keep saying accelerators. I think most people, of course, know about the Large Hadron Collider, things like that, where you find the Higgs boson particle, aka the God particle. Again, you could do experiments like that. I guess this is the hope. Well, maybe not one, to that degree, because that took a very, very powerful one. But you could do experiments such as that, again, as they're hoping, in the basement of every research hospital or research college or university. You can really start to see where it takes off. So they, it kind of gets into how it works and all the good stuff. I think we're going to wrap this up when we come back and kind of talk about the implications. But hey, pretty cool story. Everyone, music means we're going to take a break. We'll be right back. More Compute America right after this. Stay tuned. And of course, as we come back to computer and technology news.
call Brother Wolf. 10 years ago, a group of locals banded together to create positive change. We took animals into our homes, held adoption events at local retailers, and talked to the community about our mission to help build a no-kill Asheville. A decade later, we have achieved so many victories for animals in need. There's been so much progress, yet there's still so much to do. As part of our year-long celebration, we encourage you to become a member of our special Compassionate Circle program. With a monthly donation of $10 or more, you will have behind-the-scenes access to the work we are doing at Brother Wolf. Our goal is to reach 1,000 members because we receive no government funding. Working together, we can help build and sustain no-kill communities. Learn more at compassionatecircle.bwar.org. We are a 501c3 tax-deductible organization.
Welcome back to the Computer America Show, 31 minutes past the hour. As we continue on here, we are doing computer and technology news. Once again, brought to you by Fire Dragon Security. And yeah, that's right. We are, just wrapping up this article here about the idea of an accelerator on a chip, which instead of, huge colliders, that's, let's face it, you don't need the amount of power and energy for every single, experiment. You could do a lot of these experiments on much smaller, idea. So, with that being said, why don't we get to the implications of what this means? And they said that, one of the, and by the way, they have a quote here from one of the research scientists saying that one of the dreams is to make molecular movies, where you capture the state of a molecule at different times in its evolution and do that in a very short time scale. Saying that you can actually see how molecules change or as they react or combine with other molecules. Or take the pedantic cancer, for example. If an adult has cancer and is prescribed radiation therapy, they will have to spend up to 30 minutes a day, multiple days a week for weeks on end, lying on a table while the industrial medical equipment blasts them with high energy particles. And the process is even worse for kids who have to be anesthetized for the session. Obviously, they're talking about radiation therapy. And with a miniaturized particle accelerator, on the other hand, they'd be able to replace that 10,000-pound, multi-million-dollar radiotherapy machine with an inexpensive device paired with a simple fiber laser power source that can burn out tumors faster and without the need for anesthesia. Saying that once you get into the million electron volts or more, then you're sort of in the regime of where you can have practical applications. Saying that where something like a medical accelerator is more viable. So typically for cancer treatment, you're using particles with between 1 and 20 million electron volts of energy. And by making them portable, doctors can bring the life-saving technology to more people and even in the most remote locations. Saying that we still have a number of challenges before this technology becomes practical for real-world use, but eventually it would substantially reduce the size and cost of future high-energy particle colliders for exploring the world of fundamental particles and forces. So, saying that, and of course they said that it probably won't become a household appliance, but at the same time, they're right. If you could turn this from something that we only have a handful in the world to something where we could have millions of them, and then even use that technology to, like they said, better treat forms of cancer, do research projects, finding out how particles, merge and transform. Hey, obviously the possibilities, they are, exciting. No other word to put it. So, all right, that one was a bit heady. Let's see if we can bring this back down just a little bit. All right. You know what I like to do, after finishing school? Well, video games, of course. What else? Check out this story. If you are a video game buff, well, you may not have thought of this company in a number of years because, the secondhand gaming market certainly has, I don't want to say crashed, but shrunk since the idea of uh, digitally buying your games and downloading the games over the internet. The need to go to a physical retail location for video games has just dried up. Well, enter GameStop and their used video game rentals. So, this coming to us from Engadget, Mr. Rob Lefebvre, and saying that GameStop offers used video game rentals with Power Pass program. Saying the new all-you-can-try service will launch November 19th, so, a little bit less than a month, for the price of a new title. Price of the new title, of course, being $60. So, if you've rented video games from the likes of Redbox or Blockbuster, man, that's been a long time since I've rented a game from Blockbuster. Oh, good memories. But GameStop's new Power Pass will feel instantly familiar, where the video game retailer is launching a rental service for used titles and signups that will begin November 19th, and that the program will run you $60 for 6 months, and that you can drop into your local GameStop to get a different game at any time. But you can only have one title out at a time. And at the end of the 6 months, you can choose one game to keep for no extra cost. That's pretty cool. Pretty cool idea. Saying that you'll need to be a free or paid member of GameStop's Power Up Reward program to sign up for the rental program. And whether GameStop wants to monetize its huge stock of used games, they said, or just wants to get more people into their store, Power Pass could likely be a hit among gamers looking to try games out before actually buying them. And they said that shortly after publication, GameStop confirmed that the details of the Power Pass program, that the post has been updated to reflect that. So essentially, you have it right, 6 months, $60. Go into a local GameStop, pick out a game, obviously from their used game section. Go ahead, play it for as long as you want, and then bring it back and switch it out anytime you want. Seems like a pretty cool program. I mean, $60, it's certainly pretty expensive, obviously. Probably on tier with a Netflix subscription, but you get one game at a time, swap it whenever you want. I think it's a pretty cool idea. I mean, if you have a bunch of games that you're just looking to try something new, you don't want to commit, you don't want to have these games lying around forever, and hey, if you don't like it, just take it on back and go get a new one. And then the idea that you get to keep one game that you really did like for free at no cost, that's also a pretty cool feature. Again, this is going to be new. This is probably not going to be new releases anytime soon, but hey, for the frugal gamer, it could certainly be something. All right. So with with that being said, how about we go ahead and jump off into, all right, this one, we here at Computer America, we try not to celebrate anyone's loss of job. It's the way that they make a living, and it's never a good thing when someone gets fired. But here's an instance where a gentleman was canned from Apple. He was an engineer working on the iPhone X or the iPhone X project, and he was fired after what we can only assume is he was sharing his phone with his daughter, who his daughter then went out and told everyone and went with a hands-on video that there had to be some kind of non-disclosure agreement. So this is, again, unfortunate, but just shows how seriously tech companies take their products. And this coming to us from Engadget, saying that Apple fires employee after daughter's iPhone X video goes viral. And yeah, it's again, not it's certainly not good, but it shows that you really have to take these companies seriously. So the article starts out saying that just because a tech company has announced a product doesn't mean employees are free to share or talk about it before release. And just ask Microsoft. And also, unfortunately, one Apple engineer learned that the hard way. And Apple has reportedly fired an iPhone team member after his daughter, Brooke, posted a hands-on video showing off his iPhone 10 before launch. And they said that Brooke took down the video as soon as Apple requested it, but the takedown came too late to prevent the clip from going viral, leading to seemingly endless reposts and commentary, saying that we've asked Apple for comment on the firing. So, by the way, just goes to show that, you can you can post something up on YouTube and it's your video, your copyright, blah, blah, blah. You take it down. There are many services out there that will download and rip the entire YouTube clip that you've posted. Be careful what you post online. And in a follow-up video, Brooke said she and her father understood the decision and weren't angry at Apple. And it's important to stress that there wasn't a garden variety iPhone X, saying that as an employee device, it had sensitive information like code names for unreleased products and staff-specific QR codes. Of course, a QR code, if you just accidentally flashed the QR code at the wrong time, those are static images. You can repost those, you can reprint them, and potentially get access to stuff that you really shouldn't have access to. So combine that with Apple's general prohibition of recording videos on campus, saying that even at relatively open spaces like Cafe Max, and this wasn't so much about maintaining the surprise as making sure the corporate secrets didn't get out. And Apple certainly didn't want to send the message that recording pre-release devices was acceptable. Obviously, we certainly know now, not acceptable whatsoever. All the same, it's hard not to sympathize. The engineer had poured his heart into the iPhone 10 only to be let go the week before the handset reaches the customers. And while he's likely to land on his feet, because hey, let's face it, if you are an engineer for Apple and you're working on the latest phone hardware and technology, any other phone manufacturing company, be it Samsung, be it Google, be it anyone, would probably be pretty happy to have this guy. Of course, reaffirming the fact that you don't break company secret, saying that his daughter is clearly distraught by the abuse hurled towards her and her father, saying that the outcome isn't going to change here. However, the incident might be helpful if it helps others avoid losing their job simply because they were a little too eager to share their work. And yeah, that's right. So the skinny of it, again, was that an Apple engineer gave his phone to his daughter so that she could make a video of the iPhone 10 hands-on. And again, Apple didn't exactly, take down the video and fire the employee just for leaking information that was already available, but rather they were afraid that by videotaping pre-release products and potentially sharing company secrets, that was the fireable offense. That was the offense that they had to take on. So again, they're not happy. I don't think anyone is really taking Apple, making Apple the bad guy in all this. It's more an unfortunate case of, just not really handling it well. So at the same time, again, he's probably going to be just fine. And yeah, that iPhone 10 video is probably still out there with commentary and so on and so forth. Can't put that cat back in the bag, but you can certainly, tell all the other cats to not jump in the bag or jump out of the bag. So there you have it. And yeah, just an interesting event that happened earlier this weekend. All right, let's see. So we have time for just maybe 2 or 3 more stories. Why don't we talk about... All right. So we talk about Amazon here quite a bit because let's face it, there's a lot to talk about with Amazon. And this coming to us from a website called Recode, saying that Amazon has slashed seller fees to try to improve its grocery selection online. And they said that Amazon cemented its long-term interest in the grocery industry when it spent nearly $14 billion to acquire Whole Foods earlier this year. Yeah, that was a big deal. Well, now it's making a subtle move aimed at improving its grocery selection online, saying that Amazon recently told businesses that sell non-perishable grocery items on Amazon.com that it was lowering the fee it charges them on item priced at $15 or less. And when you think about groceries, that's a lot of different kinds of foods. So Amazon previously charged 15% on all grocery items, but will now charge only 8% on lower price goods for at least the next year. And when you think about that, that's essentially having Amazon's profit for carrying these items, but at the same time, it's probably going to make selling these items on Amazon much more attractive. So, to help you list more products and keep prices competitive, we are offering you a limited time referral fee discount on grocery products, saying that, essentially it will be running for the next year, and that the move could be looked at as a competition-focused one. Saying that while Walmart also charges 15% across the board, they said that Jet.com, which is also a subsidiary of Walmart, charges only 10% for most non-gourmet packaged foods, according to its website. So Amazon looking to undercut the competition. So take, for example, a business that wants to sell 40-ounce jars of peanut butter that retails for about $5.50. And the easiest way to make the product eligible for Amazon Prime shipping is to store it in an Amazon warehouse under its Fulfilled by Amazon program. But the Fulfilled by Amazon storage and shipping fee alone for one jar would be about $4.44, saying that in part because of its weight, and that's before you factor in the cost the seller to make or acquire the product, as well as Amazon's 15% commission under the previous fee structure. So they said the economics really don't work out. And as a result, sellers and grocery brands have had to come up with alternative ways to sell these lower priced grocery staples through Amazon. And they said that one popular option is by selling a certain product in a more expensive bulk pack, as you might find at Costco's or BJ's Wholesale Club. So essentially, if one jar of peanut butter costs you $6 to sell, but you only make $5 off of it, so you're losing $1 every time you sell a smaller package. Well, hey, if you sell $100 worth of peanut butter at one time and you make $20 off of $100, that is probably the only way you're going to sell peanut butter, is a way that it just makes sense. So, and we're not going to get into Amazon Fresh or Amazon Prime Pantry or anything like that, but just know that this tightly ties in with those services. And they're saying that it's nice to see, and it may move the needle a little bit, but it won't fundamentally change Amazon's penetration into the grocery markets. But hey, it's a start, and it's like many things that Amazon does. It's a matter of scale, where if they can sell enough of a product for even just a little bit of profit, if they can move enough product, then it's only going to be easier and cheaper for them to continue. So there you have it. Amazon potentially going to have a much better Prime Pantry selection here in the next couple of days. All right. So, all right, let's get this one in because I really wanted to. The FCC, it's been no secret that the FCC and its current chairman are doing things that's, I don't want to say anti-competitive, but they're making it so that it's deregulating the market. Let's put it that way. And we've seen what happens with, things like banking and housing and other things when you get into deregulation, that it clears out some of the red tape. Sure, it lets you streamline and maybe makes things more competitive, but at a certain point, you just kind of get, monopolies. And let's face it, for internets and internet providers, it's already pretty much a monopoly in most areas where they have one, maybe two different providers. Well, anyways, the FCC has a new idea that the FCC chair wants to impose a cap on broadband funding for poor families. There you have it. So, this is coming from John Brodkin, from Ars Technica, and, right, so Pi proposes lifeline budget cap and new limits on which ISPs can get subsidies, saying that the Federal Communications Commission Chairman Ajit Pai wants to impose a budget cap on the Lifeline program that helps poor people buy broadband and phone service. Again, broadband and phone service, it's very, very important, especially if you are struggling financially or you don't have a job or things like that. I mean, a lot of getting a job is being able to be reached and in contact with someone, and phone service or an internet connection to check your email, things like that, vitally important. So, saying that under the previous chairman, Tom Wheeler, they said that the 32-year-old Lifeline program was expanded to let people use a $9.25 monthly household subsidy to buy internet service. And previously, the subsidy could only be used for phone service. But, hey, it makes complete sense. The internet has replaced a lot of what phones used to cover. If you try to get on, if you try to get on the phone with a lot of companies, they don't even let you call anymore. Like, you can call and maybe leave a message and maybe they'll get back to you, but a lot of them just do support via email or live messaging now. It's just easier. But when Pai took over as chairmanship, he quickly got to work rolling back some of Wheeler's Lifeline changes. Where Pai he ramped up his attempts to place limits on Lifeline last week with a proposal that would likely be approved by the commission at its meeting on November 16th. And by the way, November 16th, I believe that's also the one where they're going to be taking aim at net neutrality as well. So it's either that week or the following week they're going to be voting on it. It's So now they said that Pai's plan, titled Bridging the Digital Divide for Low-Income Consumers, proposes a new self-enforcing budget cap that would limit Lifeline spending, and Pai's proposal didn't include a specific amount for the cap. Instead, the commissioner wrote, "We intend for the program to automatically make adjustments in order to maintain the cap in the event the budget is exceeded." See, but that puts a limitation that if you run up against the cap, they're writing it so that they can say, we can change the cap whenever we want if we really feel like it. But by putting a cap, it gives them a wall to put their, even though the wall is completely movable, it gives them a wall to put their back against and say that we just can't do it. We can't help, people afford subsidized internet or phone. Now, they said that imposing a cap will ensure that Lifeline disbursements are kept at a responsible level and to prevent undue burden on ratepayers who contribute to the program. And they said the Pai has repeatedly criticized the Lifeline program for being ripe with waste, fraud, and abuse, with subsidies going to ineligible subscribers and phantom subscribers who don't exist. Now, when they say people who pay this, for those of you who don't know, every company, every internet provider and phone company, out of their own bottom line, out of their profits, they had to subsidize this program. This doesn't exactly come out of taxpayer or your bottom line. This is something that comes out of, these large companies, and they get, it's part of the terms of a lot of the benefits that they receive, that they help people get access to their services. So don't think it's like, oh, this is an undue burden that was never asked for. Again, this helps people. This helps a lot of people and is paid for in other ways that the taxpayer already pays for. So, canceling this is nothing but a boon. So anyways, they said that they asked the public for feedback so that the FCC would need to take a second vote in a few months to later implement the change. and that the NPRM, again, notice of proposed rulemaking, also suggests eliminating a year-old nationwide approval process that makes it easier for telecoms to offer subsidized service and cutting off subsidies for telecoms that resell network access instead of operating their own network. So, together, these moves would lower the number of companies that can offer subsidized broadband to poor people, and they'd force telecoms to get separate approvals in each state if they in which they offer subsidized plans. So, yeah, essentially, it would make it much, much harder to offer subsidized internet. Now, the budget cap controversy, saying that that the two parties have previously fought over whether Lifeline should have a strict cap, and the then chairman Tom Wheeler instituted a budget of $2.25 billion, indexed to inflation, after rejecting a compromise that would set the cap at $1.75 billion. And they said that Lifeline is one of 4 universal service programs paid for by Americans through fees imposed on phone bills, and it's the only one of the 4 without a hard cap. And they said that Lifeline can exceed its current budget as long as the FCC staff issues a report, blah, blah, blah. Essentially, yeah, so there are other programs such as this, they have a bit more limitation, but because internet is such a new territory, it doesn't seem to be under the same amount of regulation, or at least caps. And they said that Americans with incomes at or near federal poverty guidelines are eligible for Lifeline. People in tribal areas are given greater support with an additional $25 monthly subsidy. So there you have it. Anyways, the article wraps up by saying that the FCC said that limiting the funds to facilities-based providers will improve the business case for deploying facilities to serve low-income households. The FCC rejected arguments from network resellers who said that their purchase of wholesale services from facilities-based carriers increases those carriers' incentives to deploy and maintain their network, saying that these resellers offer little evidence beyond their own assertions. So essentially what they're saying is that by reducing the amount of people that are eligible or can claim for subsidized internet, and let's face it, internet is as much a needed service as electricity, water, whatever. Internet is hugely important. Yeah, I guess to make it more, to give people more incentive to serve these poorer communities, they're reducing the amount of people that are not going to essentially be paying the full bills. And hey, if you make everyone pay more, it makes even lower income areas that much more attractive. So we'll see what happens. Obviously, just like most FCC, they are open to public comment if you so wish to choose. But yeah, this FCC seems to be really hitting consumer protection policies extremely hard in favor of broadband internet companies. Just interesting to take note of. And hey, you can check that out. So there we go. So with that being said, the music means we're going to take actually not even take a break. Well, yeah, we're going to take a 24-hour break. Everyone will be right back with Computer America tomorrow, 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday. And tomorrow on the program, our scheduled guest, who I believe is all, we're all confirmed, ready to go. We will be having on Oxford Solutions. Yeah, Oxford Solutions. And they do a lot of, digital protection and things like that. They are a cybersecurity firm. You can check them out, oxfordsolutions.com, and check out tomorrow's interview with their managing director. Should be very interesting and a lot of fun. Check it out. And hey, be sure to take a look at the podcast version of Computer America up at our website, and can be found at Google Play, iTunes, iHeartRadio, SoundCloud, Stitcher, and many, many other places. Check that out. And of course, thanks for listening on the IRN Radio Network. So with that being said, everyone have a great day. Catch you next time. Bye-bye.